pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the January 21st, 2021 meeting to order. Roll call shows Bob is excused. Otherwise, everyone else is here. 3, agenda changes. Are there any? If not, we'll go to 4, consent agenda. A, January 7th, 2021, regular board meeting minutes. B, licenses and permits as presented. C, presentation of accounts and other claims against the village. Are there any questions? If not, could I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Roll call, Dan?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. 5, pre-registered citizens to be heard. There are none. 6, committee reports. There are none. 7, unfinished business from previous meetings. There's none. 8, new business. A, creating permanent part-time position, Public Works.
I'll take this one. Let me pull up my. Public Works is requesting a permanent part-time position be officially created by board vote. As you know, we went through the budgeting process and put some funds in the general budget and also the utility budget. But while the funding's been approved, the position's never been officially voted on. So I'm looking tonight to get approval for a Public Works permanent part-time position. This is a 20-hour per week job. Probably the pay range is anywhere between 14 and 19, or depending on qualifications, and it will be advertised. So, again, I'm looking for board action on the official creation of that position.
I'll make a motion to create a permanent part-time position for Public Works.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. B, Public Works job description, chain of command.
All right, I'll start out by the chain of command. I think I sent it to everybody, or does everybody have it? You can see in there, it looks like there's not a body, well, there's a body in every position, but like there were some questions about utility superintendent. That position is not a specific position. We don't go out and hire for a utility superintendent. We just happen to have a seasoned operator who is the utility superintendent. Otherwise, it would probably fall on my shoulders to perform that role. It's more of a role than a position. So the OIC, which we have to have for the wastewater plant, is Ryan right now, Ryan St. John. I was OIC in the past, but Ryan has so much experience down there. I promoted him to operator in charge. Again, it's a DNR required position, our title and position, but it's essentially a wastewater operator. So it's semantics. It's not like we created the position. You're not going to look at this chart and say we need, 2, 4, 6, 8, people down at Public Works. That's not how it works. It's just a flow chart.
Okay, I have a question. So the way this is set up, does that mean that the summer help reports to the assistant water? I mean, is it like a reporting, or is it more of a lateral?
No, it's more reporting.
More of a reporting, okay.
We in the past, as part of that study by PAA, when you have, in an ideal world, I'd have 3 guys down there. They all know what to do. But in the real world, you have to have one person.
That was my question when I looked at this.
So this is part PAA, part something we were planning on doing anyways, is establishing a clear chain in each department. As you know, the Public Works is many times different from what they do in the utility, and vice versa. Utility still has some say when it comes to maintenance, because pumps, lift stations, stuff like that take priority over potholes and stuff like that. So if Ryan's got a problem in utility, he's going to have Chris, or whoever Chris assigns, to come over and help fix that problem. Because utility is always the #1 concern. You know, people want their water and they want to be able to flush their toilets and not have their basements backed up. So there's just a clear line of communication now in both utility and public works. If, you know, like I said, the operator in charge, technically that can fall back on me, or if the new public works director in the future doesn't have it, then it would stay back down in the utility. But somebody has to be the operator in charge, or you have to contract out with a contract organization to run it, which would be expensive. So anyways, that's the chain of command. Is there any questions on that? Again, semantics, the definition of utility superintendent, that's common in the industry to call it a superintendent. It doesn't necessarily mean the superintendent of the public works like the old title he had. That was taken away. Now he's just a utility superintendent. He runs and manages, you know, our $3 million utility down there, and he does a damn good job, so, as long as you know that, so. It's more just, I can call him anything. You can call him utility foreman, but in the industry, utility foreman means somebody who puts in power lines and, you know, for contractors, stuff like that. This is more specific to the industry of water, wastewater. Is there any questions on the chain of command?
Nothing, and the only thing is, I think you and I talked about in lieu of the Department of Public Works had been gone, the administrator would fill those duties.
Yeah. Yep, and sometimes vice versa. So, yeah. All right, what is the agenda again? Job descriptions, chain of command. All right, that's the chain of command. The first job description is public works operator part-time. It's a pretty basic job description. Again, you guys allow me to have a wide pay range. I can pick and choose, you know, hopefully you get somebody who has a CDL and is retired and just looking for, you know, somebody who's qualified as an operator or who knows how to operate equipment, of course is gonna get paid more than somebody who just you know, just walks up and walks down to the plant and just tries to apply for a job. So there's some flexibility there. I'm not necessarily gonna pay 19, 20 bucks an hour.
First time I've ever heard it.
But if the person's right for that job, like let's say somebody retired, moved here from Mesa, and they wanted to, yeah.
Somebody's retired and they're gonna be off the board.
Yeah,
Yeah, they could be
yeah.
hired on as a part-time.
Dan, I'd go as high as 16. But, anyways, that's the part-time position.
No,
it's
well,
pretty
you'd be off the
basic.
board, you're per game.
Is there any questions about the part-time job description for the public works part-time? Again, it's directly responsible to the public works foreman and the public works side. So, yet the utility can make requests for help and assistance, and we do that all the time. We have to. As of right now, when we do on-call work, it's half the public works. Well, public works has to do on-call for mostly the plant, so we have to get along. But there has to be a clear chain of command during the day. So, all right. So that's public works part-time.
And I just want to say, Carl, I'm very happy that you sent out all of these so that, you know, everyone can see exactly what your positions are with this chain of command.
All right.
So that, I think, is what we are looking for as far as transparency in all of our positions is, you know, just information. You know, and I really appreciate that you did this for the board.
I appreciate that. The public works foreman is just a takeoff on the standard. Right now, let me go to the standard one, public works operator. Instead of having a public works facilities or public works parks, public works streets, we're just going straight to public works operator. We're all interchangeable anyways. If somebody's specific job now is facilities, they're probably gonna stay doing that, but they're still just a public works operator. There's no need to create all these different job descriptions when we all do the same thing at the end of the day anyways. But the public works operator job description is broken into 3 different classifications depending on time and grade and or experience. So that's what we did. Instead of having 9 job descriptions, now I have 1.
Yeah.
And it's broken down into 3 grades, or it can be split out to 3
From my
years.
experience, it helps so much that for cross-training and everybody's in the same kind of pool, so it
Yeah.
helps.
Like I said, in a perfect world, you might get by with having specialized people, but we're just too small for that. So anyways, the public works foreman is just an offshoot of the public works operator position. It has a little bit more responsibility, a little bit more experience required, blah, blah, blah. Pretty much the same thing, again, just a little bit more to do with directional supervision, that kind of stuff. Utility superintendent OIC, that was the operator 3, or operator 2, or whatever it was before. Cause you had 2 job descriptions, one for bays, one for, it's the OIC job now. If you're the lead operator and you run the wastewater plant, this is your job description. So, those were the only 3, well, actually 4 with part-time, that were changed and modified as part of that PAA. And like I said before, we were planning on doing this prior to the PAA coming in here anyways. We don't need somebody telling us what we know what to do. So, anyway, is there any questions on job descriptions? Chain of command, anything?
So you're not looking for any kind of motion on
No,
accepting these, you
it's more
just
informational.
want-
If there was something you didn't like, or even next week, you know, you could think about it, dream about it, and let me know when.
Where are you gonna squeeze your replacement in on the chart?
Oh, and this,
Eventually, we're gonna be hiring somebody to work with you.
they'll have to,
They're gonna have the same duties, or you gonna move them around in there, or?
Probably right under Director of Public Works.
yeah,
Right there.
yeah, I don't think we should show it. I think,
It is so temporary though,
yeah.
2 months or so.
Yeah.
I wouldn't stretch it out too long, because if you have to stretch it out that long, then you probably shouldn't have hired them, you know. 90% of this job is just knowing the town, knowing the people,
Yeah.
knowing what's in it. I should say 90%.
Well,
I make it look easy.
yeah, well, that's the problem,
It is.
you've been doing it a long time, and there's a lot that you know that you're,
Well,
you
well, Jeannie knows, I mean, Jeannie's been here, she worked for the village for 20 years or so, and a lot of it's, we're Hortonville, we know how we do things, and we know how we want things done, so. Experience is important. I'm not saying you have to hire from within or from the outside, or, but at least having somebody who's been in the industry.
You were hired from within, correct?
Yeah.
Yep, you worked for a number of years and
You know, I started out reading meters and walking in the snow and patching potholes.
Carl did it all.
yeah, and then you
Yeah.
were, how many years have you been the director?
Only 10,
10, okay.
yeah, 10 and a half.
Like Carl said, the biggest part of that job is the knowledge.
Yeah.
So to get someone up to speed on everything in this village and what they need to know, that's the main thing.
And
As
they're-
far as the job itself, they're going to know what that job entails.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we have someone with that experience.
A lot of it is just knowing the industry. I mean,
Yeah,
again, the utilities a big deal. We're gonna talk a little bit about that later, but there's so many rules and requirements and stuff that change. It seems daily coming out of Madison, that's hard to keep track. And so you need somebody who's well-rounded. If you're gonna hire a DPW, they can't be just strictly public works. They gotta have some experience in water and sewer, or they're gonna be swimming. Anyway, I'm not lying.
that was so funny.
back to the splash pad.
Are there any other questions for Carl? If not, we'll move on to C, utility financial review planning.
Me and Nathan are both gonna take that. You guys paid Ellers to do a financial review of our debt structure related to the village and general funds and stuff like that. They didn't really touch on the utility. I think what we would like them to do is, utility has some debt coming off, but we also have some big issues that are out there in the wind, you know, particularly the phosphorus rules that are coming down in 25. And, you know, the well house, not so much the well column, which we had rebuilt and cleaned up, but the well house itself is inferior, and there's a window there that I'm trying to talk to Nathan and and Ryan that it might be good, because if this debt's coming off next year, that maybe we can take 2 or 3 years of reallocating that debt towards reconstructing the well house at Alonzo Park. And then, after 2 or 3 years, you got that paid for, and it doesn't affect the rate structure, or it's not enough to lower the water bills much. I mean, it would be a pittance, but you can leverage it, this debt that's coming off of water and sewer. And like I said, take care of the well house, pay for it for 3 or 4 years, and then by that time in 2025, they're gonna tighten up the phosphorus rules. So we might have to spend $750,000 or $1 million buying tertiary treatment filtering equipment. So you'll be prepared at that time to go ahead, take out another $500,000 loan, use that same debt structure that's built in that you don't, I mean, that's, we're already paying for. And then take $500,000 out of the bank, which is why I put so much away every year. And then you don't have to raise rates again. And then come 2030, that's when you can drop rates 40% or so, by the time you get rid of that wastewater plant. So, anyways, there's a financial window to take care of stuff. If you take that and try to replace that, or should I say eliminate that debt, well, we're paying off a loan this year, right? It's the last year for water and sewer for that 2014 ABOT. Anyways, the utility portion of it was $104,000. Now we can take that $104,000 and we can lower it off our $3 million annual utility budget, and reduce rates a little bit, but then come back in 2024 and raise them back up again. And you'll still need a well house, and you'll still need phosphorus. And there's also fecal limits are really dropping, and we may have to put in more UV systems down there. So there's no sense overreacting and lowering rates just for a couple of years and just to bring them back. You might as well take care of that well house. The reason I keep harping on the well house is it was built in the 80s. It doesn't have the plumbing, where we put the injection pumps and where we dump the chemicals in. Everything's too tight. There's no safety room for the fluoride. There's no containment pits for the other hazardous chemicals. You know, some of that stuff will burn the skin right off your body. I mean, just kill you dead. So. And it's in your drinking water. But,
So for those of us that don't do public works, the well house is where we're getting all our fresh water?
yeah,
For the
yeah.
village?
You know, the water itself is great. It's, you know, it's 10,000-year-old water that's been filtered in Wisconsin.
Okay,
But when we inject fluoride, it's like 2 feet from the sample tap. It's called an entry point tap. And the caustics, you know, maybe 3 feet. And everything's just too tight. And we were doing a battery of what we call characteristics tests. You know, that's radionuclides and total trihalomethanes, all that good stuff. And because the fluoride's right here, if you happen to be sampling and it injects fluoride, it doesn't get a chance to mix good. And then we ended up with a notice. I don't know if I have that here. I think I sent that. Did I send that to you guys?
I don't recall seeing it.
Yeah. Anyways, we violated what they call secondary maximum contaminant level at well 2 for fluoride. As part of that, we were doing a battery of like 30 tests. Well, one of them was fluoride, so it was high. It was 2.4. It's not going to kill you or anything like that. And we know it was just because it was pumping the second we were
It didn't
sampling.
distribute enough.
Yeah.
Didn't have enough space to do
By
it.
the time it gets to the street, we have a documented, pretty good record of, you know, not exceeding it in the system and forever. So I'm not worried that we're killing babies or anything. It's just that, it's just unfortunate because the well's not designed
Where the testing is being done.
right, the well house that is. So,
Like you did mention too, when that well house gets redone, that'd be a good time for public facilities kind of jump on board and maybe,
we
use
talked about
part
it.
of that building for different uses.
Yeah,
For
either-
what?
Building onto it.
we either add, we
Oh.
could add bathrooms to the end of it.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Or, you know, if we're going mega pavilion, we might not want to add anything to it.
No.
So, I'm thinking not adding anything to it and just letting you guys go with the mega pavilion and with new bathrooms and all that stuff. But anyways, getting back, I've been talking about upgrading the well since before this notice came from the DNR. I'll share that with you guys later. I thought I did, but as you can see, it's up here. Anyways, the DNR basin engineer, he knows why we violated, and we have to notify everybody in our system as soon as practicable, but no later than 12 months. So what we're gonna do, we'll put a notice in our consumer confidence report. That's that big thick piece of paper that everybody gets and throws away. It says what we tested at. So anywho, that'll go out, and whenever we have new customers, that notice will be in the new customer packet. I believe Lisa's doing that, so. And again, we know why it happened, we know we're safe, we know we got great water. It does have manganese and iron in it, so. I myself never had a water softener, but I recommend somebody have a water softener, so. Unless you like dirty clothes. Anyway, getting back to the topic at hand, what were we talking about? Ellers. We got sidetracked there. I'd like Ellers to come in and review the finance of the utility. By law, every 2 years, we have to do a rate study anyways. So instead of doing a true rate study, I want them to look at just the finances and we make the determination. There's nobody.
Like give us options like they did
Right.
last time of
Yeah.
what
Correct.
You know,
options for
You know, if
financing.
that debt, if that makes a good idea, because, like I said, I know what I would do, but we have to convince you that, 2 or 3 year window of, putting up a new little well house, extending the plumbing and all that, paying for that, and then priming yourself up for post bypass and the phosphorus limits. When we do the bypass work, or once the bypass is done, there's a lot of utility work on Main Street that's gonna have to get knocked out like that. Because you gotta do that work before the county can come in and rebuild the road and you can rebuild downtown. So there's a lot of work out by the toy factory. There's some work between Dairy Queen and the park. So there's the normal money we put towards projects every year is gonna have to be supplemented a little bit out of the bank account. So anyways, there's some big expenses that are gonna be coming down the road with bypass. Everybody knows that. And I think we're positioned pretty good. It's just that I like Ellers to come in and just make sure the utility can afford it. We have to do it anyways, once every 2 years. Last 2 years ago, I did it myself in-house, but I recommend that we just let Ellers, especially with that debt, looking at how we wanna, pay for some of this stuff over the next 8 years, 9 years.
So you just want to nod?
Yeah,
We don't have a quote right now. The last time we went out for a quote, they gave us an itemized one, and it was, I think it was around 3,000.
So you want to move forward and get a quote?
I think so,
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah.
So,
Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm
Makes
talking a lot
sense.
about just asking for a quote, so.
Okay.
I shortened you a little bit.
Thank you. Get out of hand.
We'll move to D, transfer a portion of County T to the Village of Hortonville.
this is in your packet. I know there's some issues, that we want to get addressed that have been brought up potentially on, a few things like negotiations with Hortonia about, access, and because they'll have portion of TT and we will as well up until Industrial Ave. So we want to talk and get a contract with them prior to actually passing something like this resolution. And then we were gonna add into the resolution, clarifying that the village can call for this reshape and repave of TT at any time. Well, not any time, but give them a notice that we want it 5 years from now.
18 to 24 months.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna let Dan speak on that. There's some concern, not concern, but, there's some concern in our neighboring community about the quality of the road. And, I was telling Dan, we were both there when it was built. And it's built right and it's held up really well. But what we want the county to do is put it on their capital improvement plan. But we want the village to be able to call when that gets done. Cause let's say 5 years from now, they put it in their 5-year CIP. If it's still in good shape and we all agree that, hey, let's take it out another 5 years, because why should the village, hurry it up just so we can,
Yeah.
We want to get as much life out of that roadway as possible. And like Dean said, I was invited at that meeting, so the county will put it on their CIP plan, which is 5 years long. If they don't have a 10-year plan. So this way, he can put it at 5 years and bump it down the road, but, I think we could get a little more documentation from him that Dean's not gonna be there forever, and we wanna maybe get something a little more tighter for,
Yeah.
verbiage on that.
Yeah.
And somehow, it needs to be in our capital plan that they're paying for it, that way we don't forget about it.
We need it in writing, and basically that's what Hortonia is doing.
Yeah.
They're basically saying, they want this money to be put in an escrow or a capital improvement plan, that this will be replaced, it will be replaced how we want it replaced, not that they are gonna say, no, we're just gonna do 2 inches. Or, you know, we should have something in writing so that this roadway is done correctly, so that we, in 2 years down the road, don't have to redo it, and then it's on us.
Yeah.
It's
We
on
are-
our taxpayers.
Are we working with Hortonia? Because I mean, looking at this map, I mean, it's kind of like a zipper. So if we want something replaced, Hortonia would also need to want it replaced at that time too. So we'd have to agree with them, but are we
I
going
would-
through legal counsel and
I
just?
would not think that's how that would be, like, because, we're gonna have maintenance for that 9.96 miles.
Okay,
Okay, Hortonia is gonna have the second art, so I don't think we would have coincide with
Okay.
when they want it done. You know, I think that'd make it a little hard. Jeannie, you had brought up, Dean did say in that meeting, the reclaim, shape, and pave. If you talk about a mill and pave, typically you take off 1.5 inches off the top and repave it. Reclaim, shape, and pave means the material gets ground up, the width of, the depth of the asphalt plus that much in stone gets all mixed together. Then you have to remove that material so you have room to pave and meet the curb grades, so.
Mhm.
so-
Yeah, it has to be
but-
done, we
Yeah.
need something in writing that it
Yeah.
will be done right.
Mhm.
And then when I did talk to Hortonia, basically, they would like an agreement, which we should like an agreement also with, like you said, the access, authority.
Yep.
Because it was brought up, some of their land will be in our section of the roadway.
Mhm.
So if they wanna put in a culvert, say, or something, they wanna know that they can put it in because they are the landowner. Same thing with us, if you look down the road on some of this stuff, we are the landowner in Hortonia. We also should have that in writing with Hortonia. We can put in a culvert where we need it without their permission. Because, you know, it's just like I said, they said to me, and I said to them, we're not gonna be here in 10 years. That board's not gonna be there in 10 years. Dean Steingraber isn't gonna be there in 10 years. We can't just have a verbal agreement. We need this all in writing
Yeah.
before we sign this on the dotted line.
an intergovernmental agreement, is that
Yes.
something that
Yeah.
we're seeking at this
Yes.
time? Okay.
And I said, if we
Are
need
they-
to, would they be willing to come to a meeting
Right.
to discuss with us? And they said, absolutely. They said, you know, we're neighbors, we need to get along. So, yeah, let's get this in writing between us.
We'd
You
have
know,
to have an agreement directly with them.
Right.
Yes,
Because if the county owned it, there's no way they'll say we can do whatever we want. So if we want authority over driveways, roads, culverts, then we're gonna have to
Exactly.
hammer that out with Hortonia, not the
Yeah.
county. They won't
Yeah.
have that authority.
Otherwise, it's not broken up on which side the road you're on. It's broke up just by that section road that you maintain.
Yeah.
So,
So it's like 2 agreements, right? So we have the
Yeah.
one with the
We have-
county on
And
the
one
road,
with Hortonia.
yeah.
and then the one with Hortonia.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
there.
You know, and the same thing with the maintenance and upkeep and plowing and potholes and, you know, we need this in writing so that there's all kinds of clarification and we don't have to have a fight with them, they don't have to have a fight with us.
Wasn't it
And-
East
Well,
Central?
maintenance we would take on our part, which is 2 industrial park period.
Yes.
And then they take the rest of it, so,
Yes,
and plowing is all done through the county, I believe, through.
We both use the
Hortonia.
county. We
Yeah.
have, there's a number of other roads that end and, or go into Hortonia that there's no issues. So I'm not too concerned about that. I think the driveways, culvert, and
Yeah.
controlling our own interests is more important.
right.
Snow plowing, that'll fall. Snow plowing and maintenance, that's not a big deal.
So I
Is there a
do think
reason
we
this
should
looks like
set
it's in-
something up with Hortonia.
Yep.
Just to have a discussion on this,
Yeah.
or,
What's that, Joe?
is there a reason this looks like a zipper? I mean,
Annexing.
That's
Like
just the way it
Boca.
came out over time.
Annexing.
Uh,
can it can it be fixed?
No, like, not in this state.
I mean, if we're just talking about the road, can we take, I mean, since we're reworking the agreement with them, with the county and everybody else anyway,
No,
can
Wisconsin's
you just
goofy
fix
like
the
that.
road?
And
Would you,
And we get a piece and Hortonia get a piece? and-
That's what we're
That-
doing.
That's what
what
we
it
are
is.
doing.
No, I mean,
It's
but-
50-50.
regardless,
It looks bad because it's broken up and it says like 1.01 or 0.1.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
from the, Nash Street to, Industrial Park Ave is what is ours. The rest of it is Hortonia's, no matter what.
And it's
Oh.
equal.
Right.
that's the program that says all those short little segments there for whose land, if it's Hortonia's
Yeah.
land. That's why it has different measurement there. It has, they use that to calculate everything, but it's the overall run of the road divided by two.
Okay.
And then, of course, we're on the east end, that's where the village is, we get the east end.
So it's tied to the land, who
Yeah,
who
that
owns the
goes
land
there.
and it can't be changed.
unfortunately,
Yeah,
we can't annex
Yeah, I
it.
understand
Yeah, you
what
do.
the different properties are out there, so we own the road in front of the properties in Hortonville?
Right,
And
and we
so,
control the access.
okay.
Are we
Okay,
to
so we
act
can't
on
fix it.
R-02-21 tonight?
No.
Okay,
No, we're gonna meet
We're
and,
gonna edit
set
this.
something up and then we
and
will
come up
bring
with
this,
some agreements?
we'll bring this
with-
back,
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
yeah.
So is this, when we meet with Hortonia, is this where we would need someone like legal or Robert Sorensen here, just so, because he can work on drafting something? I mean, cause we can talk and we can
If
come up
they
with
want,
this.
if we wanna make it a legal agreement, otherwise, I would say at least maybe just communicating with them first before bringing a lawyer in, but
Yeah, with Hortonia. So sit down with Hortonia and figure it out and then
Right.
pass it
Then
on
we
to
can
Bob.
have it drawn
Let
up.
Bob write it up legally.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as in the
I think
end, we
that'd
have
be
a
easy.
legal
Right,
agreement,
right.
you know, that's
Yeah.
what I want. I
Right.
wanna make sure that a
Correct.
board 10 years from now isn't scratching their head trying to figure out what we tried to do.
Yeah,
correct.
The county will be a matter of getting that in the resolution, what our concerns are.
Okay.
So with us taking over from, this part, is there anything more we can do for safety purposes?
Well, we'd have authority over speed limits.
But more signs, I've talked to Chris about it, and there's more and more people walking because of the more subdivisions. So we have more people biking and walking. It is absolutely insane on that road, the speeding.
He's got some ideas of putting some speed bumps right in front of your house.
I will.
Or retractable
No.
spikes.
Yeah,
I can get to
And
tell
the lady with the
road.
hair dryer and the.
Yeah.
Rumble
Yeah.
strips there.
I
I
want
mean, the only,
spikes in front of my house.
in that regard, I sort of agree with you. I think the only suggestion I would maybe make is get rid of the 35. Because this goes 25, 35, 45 anyway, right away.
And-
Just get rid of the 35 and it's 25 until you're past, until you're out to the industrial park and then you go 45 and you're
And
done.
there's really no warning, it just says 45, and there's a sign that says, and it's no excuse, because everybody that lives on that road knows it, but, and then I don't, I don't know it's crazy when you're walking on that road, how people just,
It's possible later, if the village has extra money from downtown or whatever, you can put a trail going out to Clyde subdivision.
And that's for future discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know
Basically, this is
Through your
getting away
preferred.
from what this resolution was,
Yeah,
so
we're getting off track.
Yeah, we're off track.
Okay.
we're off track right now, so,
As Sergeant of the Arms, I'm telling you,
just
we're on
wanted to
track.
make a
Yeah.
point.
You did.
Thank
yeah,
you.
I'm
I
getting,
came up
I'm
with a
getting
resolution
the,
though.
So, but now there's a second piece to this discussion about the double M, right?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
but
But do we have to do anything that would be, could we have them as different resolutions?
No, it's the same one.
that's the one the county sent me,
Okay,
so I just kept it as the same and then.
and basically,
I
there's
want-
any issues with that one.
You guys, Double M is gonna move to the Brightrix field. There's gonna be a remnant of Crest Street that's gonna have a cul-de-sac just around the corner here. So we're gonna have to come up with a name for that, so. We've been debating a lot of stuff. So. Cause it's not gonna be Crest Street. Crest Street, there'll still be Crest Street, it's just gonna come out further north, so,
So we will bring this back in February,
yeah.
so.
okay.
All right, then we will go to E, 231 Lakeview Drive.
This is just an informational thing. We got a few quotes for the, potential, I guess, what is it? Raising-
Demolition, yeah.
Demolition of the property at 231 Lakeview. In total, that property will have then around $56,000 of taxes to the county, a water and sewer utility and this raise. So one of the solutions we could potentially look at is purchasing it ourselves from the county, and then doing the raise order so that we have the property we want, it gets cleaned up, and then you can sell it back, which we could discuss in closed session at some point in time about pricing. We would be taking a hit no matter what. The utility and the village could share similar to that hit, because the goal of the village would be to get a house on there that we could then tax right away. But we could put in a contract that the builder who buys it from us has to build it in a certain amount of time. That way we know that we're gonna be recouping some money over a long period of time. But altogether, I would like to go to the county too, and request that the interest is dropped from the parcel if we do purchase it, which is around $3,000. It's something small, but it's something I believe the county would do.
So what's the total with the interest?
It's 56,000.
5,600?
Thousand.
56,000?
That's for the
Yeah.
water.
No. Let me retract that. What's the county want with interest for that lot?
Well, they have 18,000 of interest, or $18,000 of taxes on there that they want, because they paid out those taxes to people. The village has 24 or so of utility water.
2,400?
Thousand. And the raise is around 12.5, 11.5 is the few
So
quotes we've
what do you
got.
think the county would take for it?
They would want to be made whole. So that would be anything minus the interest, which would be around 15,000. So we could get 3,000 off. The village would take a hit, but we then could sell that property for,
What do you think we could get for it?
I would say between 30 and 40. I'm not a salesperson
Which
though.
we should discuss in closed session.
Right,
Yeah.
right. We would.
It would be a number of years.
Yeah.
How many years do you think it would take to make our money back?
10 to 20. I have all the numbers, but I'm waiting for more information still to actually send out to you guys. The assessed values on the properties were around 18,000 for just the land. Assessed value isn't what they'd sell for, but
What bank owns that property right now?
Yeah, if we.
it's not owned by a bank, it's owned by a trust, or a Reverend Ray Trust or something like that.
But is it condemned?
Yes,
Well, can't we force them to raise it?
they don't live,
There's nobody to. force
No,
it.
but I mean, the people that own the property,
They're dead.
somebody owns it.
Someone's gotta have the trust.
Somebody's gotta have title to that.
in
So is it the
about,
trust?
after the
That's what-
25th,
Bob's working on.
in
There's
4
nobody.
days, the county will own it.
Okay.
So they're gonna be looking to sell it. They could sell it at auction. They're gonna get the amount they want for it, which is usually appraised, is what they say. So
Yeah,
whatever
it's
the,
for taxes, but that's
Right.
about it, right?
But they'll
Right,
let
so
somebody
then-
buy it.
but then that's not in our court. So then you have issues with taxes. So you could have someone buy that and then they figure out, well, there's 24,000 of utility on here. I don't really wanna deal with that. I'm gonna ask the village to drop it, so I'll build there. And if we
Yeah.
don't agree to that, then it allows us to keep it in our court if we purchase it. But-
We forgave a debt out here for, was it shillings?
No, we got.
No, we got that.
Oh, we did get that?
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
100% of it?
Yeah, from that bank.
We voted not to.
What?
We voted not to give them that off.
Right,
I recall that.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the worst case scenario for a municipality.
right.
Oh.
I mean, it's not a good,
It's either that
And
or
we
live
don't
with
want
blight.
someone to
All right.
just purchase it and never put a house. in it.
exactly.
Do we
So
have
we're
a
gonna
Get
wait,
protection
nothing
in,
back.
we're gonna wait now until Bob works this out with the county?
Well, the county is working it out with them right now to take possession of it.
Okay.
At that point, I've been in contact with Bob over the past 2 weeks about this, and we've been discussing with the legal over there and Trenton, who's the treasurer. And basically, if we wanted to purchase it, we could purchase it after they take possession, but we'd have to, if we want money taken off, we'd have to ask for it from the
Utility.
finance committee.
Yep.
And then the utility and the village could share the hit. The village gets around $1,000 of taxes from each property, the neighbors, and so you could imagine that it would probably be a very similar assessed value once a new property is built. So taking that out, you're looking at a 10 to 20 year payback structure depending on assessed value.
Yeah. Is that house flippable?
No, because
No.
it's raised. It means it should be
Demolished.
demolished.
Can I ask
Yeah,
about,
the
okay, so
second
we,
floor fell into the
the
first floor
shilling-
inside and
Oh,
shifted
really?
off the foundation, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the neighbors heard it overnight when it happened.
the Schilling property, that was like, if I remember, it was like
Internal.
utilities of like
Building
40-some
structures.
thousand. This is
It was,
24.
it was
We-
around the same amount.
Something in place that would like, that would alert, and you told me that before that the water was shut off, someone turned it back on. But a $24,000 water bill, is there something in the system we can have that would alert us? Because we're taking a hit on this.
Cost money.
Fortunately, we didn't take a hit, you know, with the Schilling
Right.
property, but I mean, here we have tens of thousands of dollars. Is there something like that?
It does flag, but we don't have that expensive of software to,
Yeah.
you know, to phone me up
Yeah.
and say, I just still, I don't know about Chris, but I think there's fraud there. Like I said, we had it turned off, water was high, we know when the water was turned on.
Yeah.
We know the person said, oh, I was here last week and it was dry. Well, it's been, we know for a fact it ran for 2 weeks prior to that.
Okay.
So, knowing something, improving something is a different story.
Yeah,
Uh,
just trying to prevent something like, so this
Well, we're
is
looking
big.
at updating software, but we're not gonna replace every meter. I mean, they are smart meters and they will make a little ding, but Lisa would have to physically go through every meter and see if there's an alert on it. It doesn't do that. I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
Someday.
So the concern with just letting the county take it and put it up for auction is that somebody will buy it, find out that there's still
Well, they would
taxes
find it
owed,
on the
taxes
title,
and water
title
owed
search,
to
and they
us.
might not be able to sell it.
and never be able to.
Right.
Okay, so, is there like a third option where we could buy it from the county and then just sell it without raising the building and leave that obligation onto whoever else?
Nobody bought
Yeah,
it?
but then,
Well,
but
if
then,
we
but
look
then
at,
they
if we
know
look at,
that there's a raise order on that property because it's tied to the deed. So
Yeah.
basically, they'll see that and they'll know that they'll have to. Yeah, so we could save 10,000 that way, but the person buying the property would most likely look at that and say, "I'm not paying you that much for that property. I'm going to pay you 10,000 less or
Yeah.
whatever to compensate for it."
Or more.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we could do I mean, we could do that option, but
Well, I meant with the leverage of the water bill and the back taxes, we would be in
We
a
can use
position.
that more than the buyer could,
Yeah,
those funds.
yeah, we could
Yeah.
leverage that and,
Problem is, we had to officially raise it to put pressure on the county and the,
Yeah.
they take it.
yeah.
yeah.
But we're not obligated to actually raise it.
no.
No.
That's my point, is if we find if you could find another buyer, if we end up purchasing it from the county, then we find a buyer to take it, we have, for leverage, we have whatever portion we could forgive from back taxes or water bill for them to compensate. Instead of us buying it, raising it, and then trying to sell it, you know,
The issue is.
and then still not getting the water bill, still not getting the
There
water.
was
Yeah.
an issue
You know,
with
maybe you
that.
use that as a leverage point.
Recall,
Yep.
we discussed this with Bob.
Yep.
Nathan and I did. There was a house on Main Street that was burned, and it was burned badly. But of course, the insurance company said, oh, no, you can redo it. It took that person 10 years, possibly, maybe more, to finally get that house livable. They tried living in it, found out, no, so they had to move out. I mean, there was all kinds of issues with that, going that route.
Mhm.
So we
Okay.
can't demand, okay, you're gonna demand, you have to have this tore down in 60 days. You have to have a new house built in 2 years. It's all a huge legal issue, and we don't wanna see that in that neighborhood.
Okay.
And have that house still be standing there in that shape for 10 years,
Yeah,
and then we're getting nothing out of it.
yep, I understand.
So, there's another way to look at this, that it's not a good idea to do it that way.
Okay.
And we did discuss it extensively with
Yeah.
Bob, and he agreed that that was not a good idea.
Okay.
So if the county takes possession because of the tax arrearages, and they don't sell it, can we force them to raise it?
That would be a legal question.
All right.
I'm not gonna answer.
That's a
It's a good question to ask, though, Peter.
Yeah, because if they can't sell it and it sits there, then you go into your 10-year,
They would probably take a hit on it before raising it.
Right.
Just based on the cost, so they'd probably sell it to someone a lot cheaper maybe,
Yeah.
but that is a
yeah,
good
but
question.
if they sell it to someone, those people know that there's
Arrears
arrearages
over.
here on the utilities.
Right.
Oh.
Hmm.
At which point, we might have to bend a little bit too, maybe. I'm not in favor of it. Okay,
We'll present it to you
So
guys.
All right,
basically,
thanks.
you are
Totally.
going to get a hold of the county and
Yeah,
report back.
there's gonna be a few more processes. We were
Okay.
just kind of updating you and keeping you guys in the loop on it.
All right, then we will move on to F, rec director hiring process.
So this is a director position, which means that you guys are the, hiring committee, if you want to. I guess, I don't know how you guys want to go about potentially hiring on a new rec director. We currently don't have a job description which we can look into doing, which I've started looking at, but haven't had time to actually create one for the village. So we would have to create a job description. If you want you guys to do the interviews for the director, otherwise, if you want to direct staff to, because it is such a limited position, that's up to you as well. I guess I kinda need to get direction on what you wanna do for process. I would just suggest if you are doing interviews to allow Mike Summers to be a part of those. That was his request.
Could
so.
we designate, say, one or two board members to be part
Right.
of that, or a board
Yeah,
member? or
anything
something?
you want. You could have 3 board members and Mike Summers and myself, or
Yeah.
how many others that you want involved
I agree.
with looking through applications, with going through interviews, and a suggestion to the village board from that committee. You could do an ad hoc, which,
Yeah,
you know. So it's up to you guys.
who would take the lead on it then, the administrator? If,
Yeah.
let's say we had a couple
Well-
of board members, or would it be board member
It
driven?
would be board members directing the administrator. Well, the job description would be presented to you guys, and you guys would vote on it as a board. Going out to the position then, the listing of it and stuff would be obviously from you guys. The board members that were a part of the committee would be involved with, looking through the applications, deciding who they want to potentially interview, asking those people to come in and interview, go through the interviews,
Okay.
then report back to the village board for the hiring.
Okay, I like that idea, just a board member or two as an ad hoc committee. How intimidating for somebody to come in and
Well, they're director
Interview.
technically.
7,
Yeah,
Well,
the director,
they're a
basically.
director, I get that, but
And the board usually hires the director,
it's a
so
very
know.
limited position.
I think your first step is to write up your job description, bring it back to us. Then we'll decide what we wanna do in 2 weeks. And I think for this first one, I think we should make the exception and include Mike Summers.
Yeah,
So just go ahead with that and then bring it back in 2 weeks.
can you also include, Nathan, the salary range that we had talked?
Yep.
Because I know we talked at budget time, but I can't recall what it
I think it's
was.
45 to 5,500,
Yeah,
so.
okay.
Then we will go to G, authorization for the village administrator to start negotiations for the union contract and the SRO contract.
So, the union contract ends at the end of the year. Typically, you wouldn't necessarily have to start negotiations this early, but because the SRO contract ends in the same year, the village, it needs to present the SRO contract to the the school district prior because of our SROs. So we kinda need to have our negotiations in the earlier part of the year, for the end of the year, for the beginning of next year. Because the county's budget season goes from July to the end of June
When does the SRO contract end?
this year. So after this,
Same time,
right.
end of the year?
right?
So
No,
when
not
does
end of the
school
year.
year?
At the end of the
School
school
year.
would be June 30th,
So they would want that then?
a
I
little
would
prior
assume.
probably, so
Okay.
that they don't have to, because if they they're not really, yeah, so,
And their board meets twice a month, so I mean, they're kind of limited as
right.
well.
So you
So-
basically need a head nod on this, correct?
Well,
Well, typically in the past, you guys voted to authorize to start, basically to start negotiations, my point would be to ask them to submit a, what they want for this next budget. And then by that time, it would be not myself making any decisions. It would be bringing it to you guys or meeting with the chairman of the Public Safety Committee for now, and kind of discussing what they want and whatever you guys want for negotiation style. I think last time it was Russ, Peter, who was the head of the public safety
at that time,
at that time, and the police chief, and David, I believe.
Right.
Because he was training at the time, so, for the actual negotiation part, but this would just be asking them, to submit what they want
Well,
at this point.
Just know for contracts in the past I've dealt with, do they approach us with the opening the contract, or do we approach them?
I believe that they approach us.
It
Yes.
depends.
It depends.
Basically, the best thing to do would be to ask them what they want and just have them submit that, and then we look through it.
Okay.
Otherwise, if we tell them what we want right away, then they can negotiate from there, and they might have asked for
That's where,
less.
last time we met with Peter, Russ, David, myself,
Okay,
and, Al. Al was involved in that too.
Oh.
And then, they brought us what their requests were,
okay,
any changes, and then we looked at it, and then we brought, the union in at the final end of it, and we kind of like bartered back and forth, and it was pretty easy.
yeah, we did
It was really
we
quick and
got
easy.
through it really easy. We gave them, at that time, we gave them significant increases in different categories too.
Just to catch them up to the rest of the,
Yeah, we caught them up.
Yep.
So this one should be
really
relatively easy too.
So then the board has the final decision on the vote on that?
Correct.
After,
Correct,
the
so
initial-
basically what would happen is I would request it, I'd get that back, I'd send it to the board, and then we could talk and discuss it between, if you wanna do the same, similar type of thing, the president, the chairman of the public safety committee, the police chief, and the administrator could get in and kind of look at the contract, what we think should be changed. There are some things in our personnel manual that changed that we gotta update there anyway. And basically go from there, then meet with them, submit ours to them, and, yeah. So, this would just allow me to, officially just ask them to submit it to me without stepping on toes.
do you want a motion on it?
Yes, please.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to authorize the village administrator to start negotiations for the union contract and SRO contract.
a second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. H, discuss credit card rewards use.
So, the credit card rewards have been building up since I started here, and it got to a point where we had over 128,000 points, for our rewards. And we ended up just converting them into Amazon gift cards. So we have $1,000 right now of Amazon gift cards. We figured, because the stuff that the rewards would buy you is really not the greatest stuff. It's usually junkier stuff, so that was the best use of the funds. And it could be used for pretty much anything. The request was to allow the village staff to use that for staff rooms, or one of it was for, I think the one thing that we are looking at right now is a toaster oven / air fryer for the break room. We figured it would be better to ask for that with those rewards monies, because that's not us budgeting for those things. The village staff never really budget for updates to anything when it comes to their break room, because we're not really trying to spend money like that. So I guess however you wanted us to go about using these monies, because they're tax money, but it's not tax money. and we just need to know how you want us to apply these funds going forward. If you want us to use it as a bank, over a few years for, staff stuff, like that, which could get
Like a
approval.
petty cash fund kind of deal.
Yeah,
like an
yeah.
Amazon gift card.
Yeah, that we would have, I mean, we can have it get approved by you guys as well, before purchase. It's up to you guys how you want us to use it.
Yeah, we're talking minuscule stuff here.
Yeah.
Right,
I don't belabor us with that, just use your own discretion,
okay,
buy stuff for the, that you need.
The
okay.
three of us sat down one day and we were looking at like a snow cone machine that maybe the library could use for
What's a
events. No, a snow cone machine, like for using for events.
A
or, you
popcorn
know.
machine,
Yeah,
We have
well,
one.
I have one
Oh.
of
We
those.
have one of them.
The
I think
police
as long as you.
Snow cone
I
machine,
think
I
as
like
long as
that.
it was keeping track.
The idea was to use
That was
the
donated.
snow
Guys
cone
donate?
for
One of
like
our officers
national night out,
gave it to
Yeah.
us.
stuff
Yeah,
like
stuff
that,
to use
Just-
not
at
for
national
staff.
in
night.
my opinion, just do what you need to do.
There's no oven in this facility, is there?
We have a toaster.
Yeah, there's no oven in
There's
there.
no
How long
oven.
did it take to
Dishwasher,
accumulate
no
that?
oven.
that's-
Huh?
How long did it take to accumulate
No
that?
oven.
I have no idea. When I got here, it was around 73, and I went into Jane's office, I said we had a bunch, and they didn't have gift cards at the time, or it turned out that the amount of gift cards we get was worthless for the amount we had. So they must have changed that recently for BMO, and it
So this
became-
isn't a every year thing?
No.
No, it's
This
been
is-
building.
It was at like
Okay.
73,000 when I started. You
Public
get a
Works
dollar
buys a lot of stuff
per,
from Amazon.
a
So-
dollar
Yeah.
per dollar spent,
Yeah.
or a point per dollar spent.
Yeah, I would,
Use
I
it
would
for the-
distribute it fairly. I mean,
Use it for
between
the
departments
benefit of
for-
the employees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for the benefit, but distribute it
You know-
equally between the departments.
Right.
and-
Yeah.
And so, or attempt to somewhat equally.
Right.
I know that
You
the
don't want to be
police
favorite to
officers
one group.
could potentially use that toaster oven that we're looking at, cause it's
Yeah, they-
also,
That was the request from them and some of the other staff in the
Okay.
admin. I could have involved everyone in,
They're working
they
night
kind of
shift.
all
There's
agreed.
not a lot of,
So,
Yeah, oh no,
Yeah,
okay.
I got
Okay.
all
I
the
just
stuff on my
wanted
shelf
to-
too.
yeah.
Not a problem.
Yep.
I think just keep some sort of log.
Keep a log of it, yeah.
Keep a log,
Keep a
yeah.
record.
Gotcha.
Just give us a little written notice someday when it's all
Or the
sold,
report.
what you did, or whenever you buy something out of it.
Yep. Sounds good.
okay, we will move on, we will combine I and J. Any other miscellaneous topics for future discussions?
Are we gonna have PAA come in? That's my,
Okay.
They've messaged, myself and I think Jeannie yesterday saying that he still could. I think, my thought is to have them come in and pay them to come in.
I thought that was a freebie.
Included.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was, they were.
It's up to you then.
I guess I'm interested in hearing what they have to
Yes.
say.
Well, you know, I think Nathan and I talked about it one day also and said, let's let him get his feet wet. Let's let him see what he wants to see in these departments and where he wants to go. And let's give him a 3-month period. If they're still interested in coming in, then we'll bring them in.
I mean, I've read through it a few times, and
I
I
mean-
think they have some good points on certain things, but some of the planning and stuff, it costs a lot of money to do some of that. And we just have never really had that kind of funds to kind of have 18 different plans
No,
for
I
long
get that.
term.
I'm sure there's
Yeah.
stuff we could.
Aren't they though
May I,
gonna
may I
help-
remind you all, no discussion,
Yeah,
Right.
please.
Oh, sorry.
but I guess as far as PAA, because we're looking at a public works director position.
May I remind you?
And I'm not discussing, but if we're discussing, like we were talking, whether or not we're gonna bring them in, that has to do with whether we're gonna schedule a meeting to listen to it. I'm not discussing, but
Then let's
We
put
had
it on
them.
the
Then
next
stop.
agenda.
we had them
Discuss it.
scheduled, we
Discuss it.
unscheduled it.
Julie.
Julie,
That's
Julie.
future discussion. Put it on the next agenda to
Right.
discuss whether we're gonna bring them in and when.
I thought we had them scheduled.
No,
No?
I called them and they said there was no schedule.
Okay, I thought we had them scheduled originally.
yeah.
I think it was just,
Initially
it was an
tonight.
offer.
Put it on the
Have to
next
do it. I
agenda
don't-
and
I
just
don't
say,
think-
let's have a discussion on it. We can throw it around then. So. Okay, we will go to 9, reports of village officials. A, administrator.
Mine is in the packet. I have a few extra things from the past few days. I was able to talk with, on there, I just said I was able to talk with, the Hortonville area school district about testing. They allowed us into their testing after meeting with them. The cost is $150. What they end up doing is it's a PSC test, so they go to the, I think it's the North Greenville school. They get tested. Someone from Milwaukee drives up, picks up all their tests for that day, drives back, they test it in a lab. That gets sent to the director over there, and then he emails me in the morning to say if it tested positive or not. It's the kind of the gold standard of testing. It's,
We've already used it once.
yes.
No names.
And it would really depend on basically the circumstance of the person who got it, what date they were exposed. Because after 10 days after being exposed, if you don't have any signs, you're good. So it really kind of depends on that. And they have to at least have been exposed for 4 days prior to going into the testing, which most people don't end up finding out until around that time that they were exposed. So it's gonna depend on too, the weekend and where it falls during the week. And like I said, the position. So office staff, we probably won't use it on, because most office staff, there's no, most of us can work from home for a few days too. And most of the time, we're not paying extra for someone to fill that position. Where the, police department, they have to call in part-timers to work. The library has to call in extra people as well. So depending on the circumstance, we would use it. The public works, we used it once. That was because we would be losing a guy for 5+ days. And we're just been behind this year from the past few years, or past few months, sorry. So, I talked briefly with Parker, and I'm gonna meet with him sometime next week. So that might be on one of the February agendas about the Nature's Haven. And then I'm looking at, right now, I've been dealing with Carroll Land Surveying on the issue on 9th Street with lot lines. So we might be taking care of that. That it looks like won't have much of an impact price-wise. So that'll be brought to the planning and zoning at the February meeting.
Any questions for Nathan?
Yeah, you made a mention about talking to Parker,
Brian Parker, yeah.
Brian Parker.
Nature's Haven area.
Now, Nature's Haven area is where?
That's the off of like Geezy area.
Oh, okay.
Getlinger Farm.
Without somebody's name. For those of us who don't know, we can
Okay.
get one.
But if I say to Peter Getlinger Farm, he would know where that is.
Yes,
right?
yes, but.
So, the curve coming out of Hortonville, you go
On
up.
M.
I say
Okay.
the old telephone company, that's gonna throw you
Yeah.
off too.
Yep.
And then you come down the hill, kind of that empty area,
I know
there's a
exactly
little
what it is
farmhouse.
there.
Okay.
Yep.
Right off
The
the
Getlinger
curb
Farm.
on-
Okay,
yeah,
so
the
you're
first
Old
curb
phone
on
company.
Hill.
He just reached out to me. I told him we can meet. I said,
No
you know,
discussion?
we can, yeah.
Yeah. No, but he sent a letter, did he not?
We talked to him, yes.
Okay.
So we'll discuss it, Nathan will bring it back,
Right.
yeah.
I just want to make sure there was a follow-through.
Is there any other questions on my handout, I guess? Or comments?
If nothing, we'll move to B, clerk treasurer.
We finished the interviews for the office, Nathan's old job, the office assistant deputy clerk, deputy treasurer position. And our finalist has accepted the position. That was just today, and her start date will be on Monday, February 8th. She comes from she worked for another village in Oakdale. So she's got the village deputy clerk treasurer experience.
Okay, so what process did you go through to hire this person?
So we posted,
We posted,
first we talked to Jeannie. We talked about the job description, the price range. And then from there, we posted on the league, WMCA,
Indeed,
Indeed, Facebook,
Facebook,
and
village
then
website.
we got we got 40 from Indeed,
Yeah,
and we got How many
40.
sent it to you?
What'd you say?
I said, how many sent you ones from like the league and stuff? I think there was 5 or so.
5. We had 3 very good candidates.
We interviewed 5 of them.
We interviewed 5,
And when does this person start?
February 8th, right before the election.
Sink or swim.
She's very excited.
She?
Yes.
Okay.
The spring primary will be held on February 16th for the Office of State Superintendent of Public Instruction. And the ballots are supposed to be arriving tomorrow. And we received the voting equipment audit reimbursement in the amount of $660.75.
Any questions for Jane? If not, we'll move to C, Director of Public Works.
Just a couple of items. I authorized well, I probably should have asked, but I told the church that they could put some security cameras in there. They're not gonna tear up the walls or anything. They're just concerned with all they've done so much work in there and they have so much equipment in there that they just want a few security cameras in the building, and I told them that was fine. And I also, while I'm talking about the church, I wanted to show you guys some pictures. They've had dozens and dozens of members down there polishing everything, spit shining the building, putting up artwork, cleaning. They've scrubbed every piece of woodwork in the entire building. It looks so much nicer. This room used to be quite nasty. It was the old storage room for Chamber had it at one time, and then we talked about using it for Historical Society, but now it's just a nursery. And they've done a great job in there. Looks beautiful. This is outside the nursery. This area was pretty much a hot mess of chipping concrete and paint peeling off the floor, and between the stairs getting cleaned up, and they still haven't touched up paint yet. So there's still a lot they're doing there, and this is all before an agreement.
Yeah, we don't have a contract with them, so.
So I want you to know they really care about the place, and they've done a great job. This is looking back towards the elevator. Again, another area that was in poor shape. Not necessarily because Public Works is incompetent, it was just a mess, and where do you stop? Where do you stop when you're spending money on this building? But when you have 100 people wanting to come down there and clean and scrape, and you can do wonders. So again, that looks pretty nice. It's like a jungle. And the bathrooms, they've cleaned up the bathrooms, put some artwork in there. Every little bit helps. Artwork on the walls. So again, they've done quite a bit, considering they don't have an official agreement with the village yet, or a long-term lease. So I think they're doing a great job. My second item is dam inspection is required this year. I didn't put it in the budget because we have funds in the dam reserve fund.
Oh, the
dam reserve fund,
yeah. Oh, that fun.
Anyways, I'm in the process of getting, I've already got one quote from the people that did it last time. I'm waiting on a second quote. That'll probably be at the next meeting. Again, I talked a little bit about the secondary maximum contaminant level exceedance at well 2. The well house is in need of some upgrades. Again, we'll talk to Ellers. But I think at the next board meeting, I want to take some photos and show you guys exactly what's going on over there. So that's all I have for tonight, unless anybody has any questions for me. It's been a nice winter. Temperatures in the 30s, around 30 all winter. Not much snow. Dan's over there. We did buy a brine tank. Dan talked me into it, and I finally gave in, because he bothers me all the time.
He does.
Yeah. Anyways, I finally gave in. We got a brine tank, and we've been using it on the hills and everything, and it only costs 20 cents a gallon. We used 40 gallons, and it did the entire hill, what we call the hills. That's going over Cedar, down towards the plant.
Typical
Mystic Heights.
application.
It just does such a good job in the parking lot, and
40 gallons per lane mile, so it covers quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I told Carl maybe he and I could get together and start driving some of the roads and, looking for a CIP to get a list going.
Where do you get it billed at?
The county shop right over here in town.
Oh,
Yeah, so that works out nice.
They truck it there. I mean, it's
Yeah.
perfect setup.
Dan was, Dan was right. We were talking about CIP projects. Me and him are trying to finalize what we're gonna do this summer. As far as, I'm wanting to go all in on Lakeshore Lakeview. We've got $1 million in that subdivision in the road. And curb and gutter and all that stuff. I wanna do chip seal, or crack filling, and then, contract out crack filling, and then go time and materials with the county to come in and chip seal it. The reason I'm comfortable with using the county is, A, I know what they charge because it's state rates, and there's no profit for them. They just charge whatever the guys make out there, so. But the crack filling is probably a little bit more than the county. The county does crack fill, but they throw so many people at it that we probably can't afford that, so. We'll just contract again like we did last year with some company to come in and crack fill, and then we'll get a TMD, or time and material quote, estimate from the county. They can't give quotes, binding quotes anyways, right, Dan?
Correct?
Yeah.
By statute.
So, anyways, that's all I have.
Any questions for Carl?
one thing I just wanted to add, I hope you two had some conversation about the lighting at Alonso. Under the pavilion,
Mm-hmm.
yes? Okay.
I don't think
He
we've
might
gotten
have-
very far with it, but
Yeah, it was, I mentioned it to him the next morning. And
All right, good.
I think we got busy in the last few weeks. so-
Okay, that's all.
And Carl, you're correct, the lighting downtown is outstanding.
it looks a lot better.
Oh,
And again, it's not going to waste. We'll be able to repurpose that in the parks, anywhere, trails. So, one thing, when we met with the school, we had been sticking money away for the last 4 or 5 years for replacing streetlights on Oak Street. I wanted to move the poles back, but I was talking with Ron Wolf, I forgot that we replaced all the wiring through there in 98, 99 when we resurfaced Oak Street. So I'm talking with the high school, it sounds like they might pay to put the bases in if we put the new poles on the backside of the sidewalk. So it's preliminary right now, but we've got Nathan's got a pretty good working relationship with Todd, and I got a good one with Tim over there, so we're gonna get together next week and see if we can swing that. I mean, we're buying the poles anyways, I just soon see them back from the curb edge. That was a silly place to put them. And if they'll agree to put the bases in and run the wiring to them, then it's a win-win for both of us.
Is Warner Street also included in that, or is that's future?
Warner,
Yeah,
Warner can be done separately. At the time, it was, I think it was $7,000 to put a new pole up there. So that's why we did.
I just know we've talked about it in the past, and I know Warner Street is very dark
Yeah.
with kids at night, yeah.
We were more concerned about town and Oak, because Oak used to be the main entrance to school. Town is now the main entrance is the parking lot, but we've neglected the streetlights in front of the school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly do that.
Just a thought.
yeah.
There's a lot of kids after school activities.
If we save money
you
in
know.
other areas, maybe we'll free up some of it to put at least a pole in on that curve. But like I said, it's gonna be pricey because you have to run new power there. And Wiener cheese doesn't work cheap, so.
Any chance of replacing the heads on the existing ones?
Yeah, we signed that contract
Okay.
with the county, not with the county, with Wiener cheese. If it's a
Okay.
wooden pole, it's getting LED.
No, I'm talking about along Warner Street.
Yeah, we can, but I just worry about putting a nice head on a pole that might break in two at any minute, so,
But,
yeah.
okay.
And the way they're, yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah, further discussion.
You had a
We-
conversation.
Yeah, we had some discussions with that national chain that's still looking at Alonzo, so we sent them all the information there. And we also have a large construction company that's wanting to move out here, build a house out here and bring their business with them, a large company. We're possibly looking at, I should get off 2 tracks, but we're looking at some sites near the bypass, so, where we had talked before, so, yeah. some kind of, yeah, a big, large construction company. Anyways, they wanna move them, their family, and their brothers and sisters out here, build a bunch of homes and bring their business out here from the valley. So, we're working with them. I can't think of anything else. We still haven't heard anything from the other two people that were wanting to buy the TID properties. They're tire kickers, in my opinion. We'll wait and see. If they decide to buy it, that's fine, but, you know, always the bridesmaid, but never the bride when it comes to them. That's all I have.
Okay, we will then go to D, Police Chief.
First of all, Pat, I'd like to tell you, the officer is sitting right in front of your house. We got somebody last night, 58 and 25, so.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
It's terrible.
past your house?
Oh, yeah, it's nuts.
The officer was sitting on the side of the road, and he reported in his report, which ended up being an OWI, which is
Oh.
operating while intoxicated. But, his report indicated that his squad car shook. That's how fast he was moving past him, so.
With as much as they're sitting there, I'm surprised people still speed down, because they constantly sit by the natural gas station.
Yeah.
I see them there all the time, it's great visibility.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
tell
I
them,
don't know-
tell them
I don't know
thank
why
you
people
for
speed
whatever
there
they
so
do.
much.
It starts at 4 in the morning and it's,
Oh, by the way, Julie, we got the 4 in the morning one. At the gas station, there was some complaints that there was loud exhaust at the,
At the 4:30 in the morning,
at the 4:30 in the morning.
every
That's why I
single
thought-
day, it's the
That's where I thought the
same.
4:30 in the morning, I know that a couple of you were talking about that,
Secret by your
so.
place too?
yeah, I think
Every
so.
morning at 4:30.
A red truck.
I have
White.
heard that.
And I
Basically,
know where
what
they
he
live.
said is, he said that he purchased the vehicle that way, so
On
we
purpose.
gave him 15 days to fix it. So you may still hear it for another day or
I
two
know where he
afterwards, but
I can hear him
if he
start it
doesn't,
up.
if he doesn't fix it, then we cite him, so.
Yeah, and he lives several blocks away and I can hear him start it up.
I think, yeah, he's,
So can I.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Yep,
he probably was.
it's bad, but I
asked me
can
to-
tell when people get up for work.
You just
Dan
told me
asked
the
me to
truck's
check
only
into the
been
rapid
15
test.
days.
for the COVID.
Yeah.
And that's when we had spoke with Nathan and I spoke with them. We basically found out that the rapid test is throwing off a lot of false negatives or false positives, and they're not accurate. So that's when we decided, we talked to Sergeant Barr, kind of put him on board, and we came up with a team conversation. Officers participated this week in a low-level firearms, or low-light level firearms training in the garage. It's part of their 24-hour training that's mandated by the state. It was a good training because we could at least, you know, do the social distancing, they could wear the masks and things like that. So that was good. We had 4 officers that participated in that. COVID vaccinations, I've been in contact with the Department of Health with Outagamie County. We are currently, we're up for the vaccinations, so we can start going to them. They suggested that we go with Bellin. Bellin is they're the In Care for Network, where Theta Care is not, and Theta Care, the process was pretty difficult. You had to get a whole bunch of information from my officers. He had to do it with the drive.
Yeah, I got information from her.
Yep.
Um,
So, and then,
that's,
yeah, then you
Okay.
have to submit it to Theta Care, and then Theta Care will partner us up. I went to Bellin last night. I was in and out of there in 25 minutes. Just, they set me up a date for
Okay.
February 10th for my second one, because Pfizer's 3 weeks and the other one's 4 weeks. So, yeah, so I sent the information out to all my officers so that they can go starting next Monday. They're opening it up to anybody 65 and over. I just, in my opinion, I think that they have plenty of vaccinations, because they didn't even ask where I was from or who I was or anything. So, so I know that a couple of the other officers have gone today and got theirs. We are filtering several swatting calls. Everybody know what a swatting call is?
Mhm.
Oh, squatting?
Swatting.
Okay.
S-W-A-T-T.
Yeah.
We have somebody in the village So we've been working with, the mental health officer with Outagamie because some of the calls are happening outside of the village, some of the calls are happening in the village. We got another 2 last night. We got a fire call, so the fire department's being dispatched out. They're reporting transformers are exploding outside of the village. So you got all this emergency management or emergency systems, the fire departments, EMS, police are all responding for house fires, and one of them was a house fire, and you get there and there's nothing there. So we know who the individual is, we've been working with him and talking with him. Unfortunately, he's using his dad's name as the reporting person, so we've been dealing with that. On Facebook, I posted, we had a sex offender that moved into our village. I can't give you a whole lot of information on where he lives, but there is the Wisconsin Sex Offender Registry. You can type that in, you can just put in Hortonville, you go 1 mile, 2 miles, it'll show you that in the 2 mile radius, we have 6 offenders. So.
How many?
Huh?
How many?
6.
Within a how big range?
2 mile radius. I just did it while we were here doing the thing here. It reports that we have Barrick, Hanson, Herman, Hoyer, Lorette, and Whitestein. Whitestein is our newest one. So there's 6 within a 2 mile radius. That's what I put in there from this address here. He's living in, what we do is with the sex offender registry, our village adopted an ordinance, and the ordinance says 2,000 feet from any park, daycare, or school. So our village kind of looks like a clover, and we look at it every year to make sure that we didn't move any parks. So he's living on the outside of the clover. They can basically, if you look at the map, it's to the west of the railroad tracks by Charlie's place. So that's kind of like the cutoff. So they can live from the railroad tracks to the west of the village, and then here, over here, it's gonna be kind of where, it's borderline right to the west of where that sign is. The,
Village sign.
Oh, the chamber sign?
the chamber sign, right. So it's, I think it's like 100, 200, maybe close to 300 feet to the west of that, or yes, to the west of that. Nothing to the south of the village, nothing to the north of the village, just because we got the schools and the Wawash.
Chief, we had, somebody come and ask for an exception to that rule. If that person moves, are we notified? Like cause I get notifications,
Right,
and I did get a notification, and I believe it may have been the person that we gave exception to.
yes. Cause he had moved, he had purchased the house inside of the village, so he was living in the village.
Okay, so, but we don't need to do anything here because we gave that exception, or, okay.
No. Every sex offender that comes into the village, and then what happens is they're put on a sex offender notification bulletin, okay, is what it is. So the Department of Corrections, along with the probation agents, they send me pretty much, it's a information sheet, it's 2 pages long, 3 pages long. Basically, it's full of a bunch of questions, gives a little synopsis of what the offense was and who their victims, not who their victims were, whether or not he knew the victims, he or she knew the victims or not. And then the last page is basically 3 columns, so it's level 1, 2, or 3. So they basically check boxes, and according to what the boxes that they check, they pretty much can determine if they're a level 1, 2, or 3. And a level 1 would be just, I'm notified. Nobody else knows about it. But I can, according to statute, I can post something if I feel that I want to notify the public of something to, just to protect them. And let people be informed, and then they can make their decisions whether they wanna talk to their children or whatever. Then I can post something on Facebook, that would be something else. But if they're like a level 2 or a level 3 that we determine, a 3, we would go door to door and start knocking on people's doors, handing them out information. Might be a picture of them, it might be where they live, posting it on Facebook, so we would do a lot more. But there's a team of us that get together, and it would be the probation agent, the supervisor of the probation agent, myself, and a lot of times what they're done in like groups. So we might do it at Kokana PD because they have a bunch of them being released too. And we make that decision of what level, they make the decision, and I get to basically say, I think he should go up 1 level or down 1 level. So we don't have a whole lot of direction as far as, you know, whether or not letting them live in our community because of our ordinance. But we can make exceptions, but I would tell them no, and then they would come to you, and that's where, Lou Kermis, I think it was one that came to our board,
Yeah.
and he was the one that petitioned to live in the village.
But I do have to compliment you, since you did come on board, there were several that were within range that they shouldn't have been living. And I know you did a lot of cleanup work on that, and I thank you for that.
That's all I have. Anybody have anything? It's been a busy 2 weeks. I'm crazy.
Any questions for Chris? With that, we'll move to E-Library Director.
Just a few things. We've had 400 curbsides this month, so we're pretty excited about that. I got word yesterday that our interior shelving will be installed on the 10th and 11th of February, with 12 being a buffer day for them to come in and do any further paint, touch-ups, things like that. So the library will be closed for all services the 9th through the 12th of February. It's a Tuesday through Friday, because we need the 9th to empty off the remainder of the shelves, get things in order. So we're really excited about that. Of the 192 bookshelves that were in there, there are 44 that are left unsold. So if anybody wants to buy any bookshelves, that's pretty exciting that we're down to 44 of them, of everything. It's been quite the adventure. And next week I'm attending the Wild Wisconsin Winter Web Conference for directors and library personnel to learn more about policies, management, pandemic prep, things like that. We do every year, but so.
You're attending virtually though, right?
Yeah, it's virtual even when it's not pandemic times.
Okay.
Mhm. That allows more staff to be able to attend, so.
Any questions for Ally?
Ally, what did you get for a price on those shelving units?
They're they're $50 a unit. And for the groups that were buying more than 15 of them, I dropped it down to 40 a unit. So Shiocton bought 38 of them. We have a small games company, like board games company in Ripon that bought 28 of them. The school bought 22 of them. Takes a lot of weight off my shoulders to be buying them or selling them in chunks.
Yeah. So I know Carl, you talked about getting some of them for.
Yeah, we got as many packed away as we can.
Did you charge Carl for them?
I should.
You should.
I should.
It's just a transfer.
Well,
of
we had to
funds.
move them.
Oh, okay.
So you get a discount, $60.
Moving discount.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Ally.
We will move to F, attorney, and Bob is excused. G, building permit report is in the packet. And then communications and miscellaneous business is number 10. A, Black Otter Lake District News.
We originally had a meeting scheduled for this past Wednesday, or yesterday actually, and it was not held. I think the person that was supposed to attend was not able to make it, so I'll let you know when it's rescheduled for.
Okay.
That's all I know.
And then we will go to B, Hortonville, Hortonia Fire District News.
We had a meeting last week, and we covered the 2020 budgets for both the fire department and EMS. That their budgets basically got zeroed out with the exception of $625 carryover that the fire department has as an accounting issue from transferring who was doing the books. Money should have been spent, but never was. The money that we allocated for the EMS compensation back earlier this year, they came out with a system where they paid their staff $10 a meeting and $8 for every call that they went on, and then they had a $100 kick. They had enough left for a $100 kicker for each of the EMS staff. 2020, the fire department had 70 calls. Their average is 80 a year, so they were a little bit down. EMS had 219, which was up quite a bit. If anybody's interested, they gave me all of the calls for the entire year, showing the date, the time, the municipality, and the nature of the call, if anybody is interested to get some good sleeping material. Other than that, I mean, their budgets they're right in line with everything. 40,000 in their equipment fund, 13,700 or so in their fire account, which is because we paid them. Reserve fund for EMS is right where it should be at, 10,700. So far, they've only had 2 fire department calls and 8 EMS for the year. They did get 2 light bars from Pierce. So another benefit to us having mostly Pierce employees and volunteers. They would have been about $2,500 a piece. One of them fit one of our fire trucks, the other one they gave to Greenville, because they didn't pay anything for them. They also got after a while, we sit around and shoot the breeze for a while, and one of their guys is a pack rat, and I guess at Pierce, when they have parts that don't get labeled, or it loses their labeling, they throw them into a bin, and they like auction them off, or let the employees just go ahead and take them, and he's got a garage full of parts. So they regularly have parts fail on their equipment. They had a horn controller for or siren controller for one of the trucks that went bad, and he said, wait, let me go look in my garage, I might have one. He said, a couple days later, come back with it brand new in the box. He said, just had it on the shelf in his garage. So having the guys from Pierce work there saves the village and the township a lot of money. I mean, and that doesn't show up in their budgets. It does save us quite a bit of money. They're still looking to add more. EMS and fire department are both losing people. They had some members move away. I think they said they had 5, is that, if I remember right? Was it 5 members that moved out of the district? So they are looking to add some more staff. So
They're getting quite a few calls because calls are coming to me. They put that
On
They put-
the board.
on the chamber board.
yeah.
So I've received 3 inquiries, or they're calling me. So I'm passing that information on to Tracy.
They used to have a waiting list for people on our fire department, and other townships had trouble staffing theirs, and now they're in that situation where they are losing people and they don't necessarily have anybody to fill those spots. And there's a lot of training and a lot of time and effort that goes into being qualified for a volunteer position where you're not the only thing those guys get is a stipend for their clothing. So it's a lot of time that you have to put in for that.
One question, Jim, the 70 fire calls, are those within the Hortonia, Hortonville, or with some of those mutual aid?
I have that information.
I was wondering if.
Okay, so the breakdown of that, mostly because Denny wanted that, Denny Clegg really wanted.
Yep.
He really wants to know the breakdown between Hortonia and Hortonville calls, because he
Yeah.
wants to understand their budget. So out of the 70 calls, 25 were in the Hortonia, 32 were in the village of Hortonville, 5 in Liberty, and 8 of them were mutual aid. And the EMS lists, they don't list mutual aid calls, but they do list, Hortonville, Hortonia, Liberty, where they don't give the address, they just give the, if anybody's interested, they give what
Scan it.
township.
Scan it, email it if you can.
I don't have an electronic copy, I could ask Tracy for one.
You can't just scan it.
Sure, except for the front page, I can.
I guess I'm just more curious,
Yeah,
just
I was too,
breakdown
and
of
I
yeah.
broke it, if I send it to you, I did break it down, because I put little checks for under each month, because I wanted to see what the variation was for the summer versus the winter versus the peak times for COVID and things like that. I really wanted to look at it a little bit
I've
more.
had some people inquire regarding the EMS positions, that's why I'm more specifically asking, they're kind of curious if it's more of the village or more Hortonia, more,
Yep,
yeah.
yep,
Okay.
I was very curious because of the COVID and everything else, how it broke down, so I'll be happy to,
Thank you.
I'll get a scan and send it.
Is there an age limitation on volunteer for the fire department?
I believe it's probably 18.
Just asking for.
Oh, you mean for
Higher,
age?
high end?
Upper age. They have a number of open spots, so it depends on what you can contribute. They actually have some fairly elderly. They have one
Be
member.
careful of what you say.
You just used the word elderly
Well,
here.
okay, so they have one member who has a substantial injury and cannot go on calls, but he still volunteers with the fire department, and he takes care of all of the radios. And that's his primary task, is because there's a lot involved with the coordination between the stuff. So that's all he takes care of. They asked me to be on there just to take care of their IT stuff. I told them that they didn't have to list me as a firefighter, because I wasn't sure if there would be a conflict with that anyway, sitting on their board and still being a board member here. So I just told them don't. I still do it for them though.
Do they have a chef or a cook for the meeting?
Oh, gosh.
Tom Banker is the server.
Okay.
For
Oh,
their
he is?
food.
Tom?
Yes,
Yeah.
and they, when they have their monthly training, they have their monthly training the first Wednesday of every month, and it's a considerable amount of time that they spend there. Somebody is designated, a different member or two members are designated to bring the primary course and the secondary, so potatoes and
Right.
some roast beef or something like that, and then Tom Banker typically dishes out the food.
All right, I'll pass the info along. Thank you.
Okay,
Could you scan that for me also?
absolutely.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I can send it to
Send
you
it.
if
Just send it
anybody else
right.
wants
Yeah.
it.
Just send it out, yeah,
Okay.
that'd be nice.
Did they have the next meeting set up yet or not? Did I miss that?
For the fire board, they meet once a quarter. Yeah, April 14th, I think, is the next meeting.
Yeah.
And they'll send out, there are sometimes conflicts. We had to move this one because of COVID. So it should have been almost a month ago.
Any other questions? We'll move to C, Gold Cross Ambulance Run Reports and News, there's none. D, Hortonville Civic Association.
Nothing?
E, Senior Activities Committee.
Nothing at this point.
And F, Building Permit Report is in the packet. Comments and suggestions from citizens present in 11, there's none.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're now adjourned.